Have you ever woken from a strange dream in which you were living a life that was not your own? A house unfamiliar, yet hauntingly familiar. A job you had never done, but one you performed with ease as though you had been tied to it for years. A partner, children, or familiar faces you had never once met in waking life. And when you opened your eyes, your heart felt heavy, as if you had just left behind a life that rightfully belonged to you. Dreams like these leave us bewildered. Are they nothing more than tricks of the subconscious, or something deeper? Why are the memories within them so vivid, logical, and detailed, sometimes even more alive than waking reality itself? And why do the emotions, longing, regret, or a profound sense of belonging cling to us for days after we awaken? The truth may be startling. Those dreams are not random. They are portals, doorways giving you a glimpse into a parallel timeline, where another version of you is living. When you dream, your consciousness does not vanish. It moves. It slips out of the familiar branch of reality and steps into another life. And in that moment, you are not merely observing. You are truly touching another part of yourself, parallel you. This video will guide you through the journey of parallel dreams, from a phenomenon so common yet rarely spoken of, to the ways quantum science and ancient cultures alike hold the clues. You will see that strange dreams are not meant to confuse you, but to expand your identity. Because you do not live just one life. You are the intersection of many timelines. And sometimes, dreams are the very first doorway for you to realize it. There is a kind of dream that leaves a deeper mark than all the rest. It is not a nightmare, nor is it a dream of scattered fragments from everyday life. It is when you wake up carrying the vivid memory of an entirely unfamiliar life. A house you have never set foot in, a job you have never done, a family, friends, even familiar faces that you know for certain you have never met. All of it appears in the dream with such clarity that upon opening your eyes, you must ask yourself, why do I remember that life more vividly than the one I am living now? Many people have recounted dreaming of living in another city, speaking a language they do not know in waking life. In the dream, they had a stable job, close friends, even a life partner whom they loved. Everything unfolded naturally, as if that were the only true reality. And then, the moment they awoke, a strange ache overwhelmed them. They felt a sense of loss, as if stripped of a life that rightfully belonged to them. Someone dreamed of being a famous artist, standing on a grand stage, hearing thousands of spectators chant their name. That person had never sung before a crowd in waking life. Yet the sensation in the dream was too real. The lights, the music, the racing heartbeat. Upon waking, they sat in their small room, bewildered at how the memory of a completely foreign life could be etched so deeply. These experiences are called parallel dreams, dreams of a parallel life. They do not come often, but once they do, they awaken in you a sense that reality is no longer simple. They stir an intuition that perhaps somewhere, another you is truly living that life. And the dream is merely a small crack, allowing memories from that timeline to leak into you. The important question here is not, why did I dream of that? But rather, was that real? If it were mere coincidence, why would the dream be so detailed? Why would you remember the name of a stranger, a melody you had never heard, or a sense of attachment as though you had lived with them for many years? Such details often go far beyond the spontaneous imagination of the brain. A woman once shared that for many months, she often dreamed of living in an old house in the European countryside. She remembered every window frame, every chair in the kitchen, even the sound of birds singing in the garden each morning. When she woke, The memory was so clear that she decided to search online. And strangely enough, she found a house identical to the one in her dream, in a country she had never visited. This convinced her that somehow she had seen the memories of a parallel you, another version of herself living in that timeline. These strange dreams often leave behind two opposing feelings, both curiosity and unease. Curiosity, because you sense that you are larger than a single lifetime. Unease, because it shakes the belief that I am only me in this one life. And it is precisely this conflict that gives parallel dreams their special power. They pull you out of the narrow frame of reality and place you before the great question. If another me is truly living that life, then who am I here? Psychology often explains these dreams as reflections of subconscious desires. But such explanations cannot erase the truth. The memories in these dreams are often too coherent, too full of detail to be dismissed as mere illusions. And strangely, they often appear when you are confused about your identity or standing before an important decision. As though the dream wanted to remind you that you are not limited to a single choice, a single timeline. The important thing to remember: strange dreams are not meant to confuse you, but to expand your vision. They remind you that you do not have just one life. You are the web of many possibilities, and sometimes a dream is the bridge that lets you touch that truth. So the next time you wake from a strange dream, do not dismiss it too quickly. Ask yourself, what if this was not imagination, but a memory from a parallel timeline? Then which version of myself have I just touched? When you close your eyes and fall asleep, something strange happens. Consciousness does not disappear. It shifts. Sleep is like leaving the cramped room of daily life to enter an endless corridor filled with doors. Each door opens onto a realm, a life, a parallel timeline. And a dream is the moment you accidentally, or are guided to, step through one of those doors. From this perspective, dreams are not the random product of the brain, but portals of consciousness. They are the bridge between you here and you elsewhere. When the body sinks into rest, consciousness becomes more fluid, escaping the gravity of physical reality and beginning to slide into the cracks of space-time. That is why you can dream of things that do not belong to you at all, yet appear clearer and more real than any hallucination. Imagine sleep as a transit station. There, you stand among countless trains. Each one departs toward a different world, a different life. When you board a train, you live fully in that life, sometimes only for a few minutes, sometimes for many years before returning, waking up in your familiar bed. But the memory of the journey remains, and it leaves you wondering, did I truly just go somewhere? Or was it all just a dream? A man once shared that for many nights in a row, he dreamed he was a teacher at a small school. He remembered his students vividly, remembered math lessons, remembered stories told in class. Strangely, in waking life, he was a computer engineer and had never stood at a lectern. Yet the memories in the dream were so vivid that he felt as if he were living two parallel lives. He said, "In the dream, I never thought I was dreaming. I thought I was living for real. This is not rare. Some dream of being a father or mother to unfamiliar children, and upon waking, the feeling of love still fills their hearts. Others dream of doing work they have never studied, yet performing it with mastery. These experiences show that dreams are not merely imagination. They are a corridor of parallel experience, where your consciousness temporarily leaves the familiar track to step into another branch. What is fascinating is that in many spiritual traditions, dreams have always been seen as a bridge. The ancient Greeks believed the god Morpheus gave humans the ability to enter other realms through dreams. Native Americans saw dreams as a vision quest, a journey to receive messages from the spirit world. In the East, dreams were considered the way consciousness moves beyond the barriers of material life to reach deeper realities. In other words, since ancient times, humans have intuitively known that dreams are portals opening into parallel worlds. The problem is, most of us step through portals without ever realizing it. We dismiss dreams as nothing but chaotic fragments of the brain, forgetting them the moment we wake. But if dreams truly are portals, then every time you dismiss one, you lose the chance to glimpse another part of yourself. Think about it. How many times have you woken with the memory of a dream so real, only to brush it off as coincidence? How many doors have you stepped through, but never paused to explore? And could it be that each time another version of you was calling out, but you did not answer? The portal of consciousness does not open every day. It appears at special moments when you stand before a major change, when your mind longs for something, or when the universe wants to send a signal. And when it opens, the dream will take you into another life to remind you that you are far greater than you think. So next time you step through a dream and find yourself living another life, do not just wake up and forget it. Ask yourself, what does this portal want me to see? What is that parallel you trying to tell me? Because sometimes, a dream is not just a dream. It is the doorway to a truer part of yourself. If dreams can be portals, then what mechanism allows you to see a life that does not belong to you? The answer may lie in the strange world of quantum physics, where reality is no longer as simple as we once thought. In classical physics, an event has only one definite outcome. But at the quantum level, particles do not immediately choose a single state. They exist in superposition, meaning they hold many possibilities at once until observation causes one specific outcome to collapse into reality. In other words, reality at its most fundamental level is already multi-layered, already parallel. Now connect this to dreams. When you dream of another life, a job, a family, a strange house, perhaps it is not the product of imagination, but the moment your consciousness slips into a state of superposition. You are no longer confined to the present outcome, but are temporarily accessing another possibility that has always coexisted in parallel. Hugh Everett's Many Worlds interpretation takes this even further. It says that every quantum possibility truly happens, only in different parallel universes. If that is true, then every decision, every moment, every potential of yours opens a new timeline. And when you dream of a life that is not your own, perhaps you are glimpsing into a parallel universe where another version of you is truly living. One telling story. A man once shared that he dreamed of being an architect living in Barcelona. In the dream, he went to work every morning, spoke Spanish, and had a large family. Strangely, in waking life, he had never studied the language. Yet in the dream, he spoke fluently, even remembering the details of the house he had designed. When he woke, he felt a profound sense of loss, as though pulled out of a life that was truly his. If placed within the framework of many worlds, one could say, he had just touched the memories of a parallel you, a self living in that parallel timeline. This also explains why parallel dreams often feel so real to the point of obsession. Because you are not merely making it up, but actually observing a quantum state, a different timeline. And once you observe, that memory imprints itself on the mind, just as a quantum particle becomes a definite particle once observed. Yet, there is another mystery that makes this even stranger. If you can observe a parallel timeline, can that timeline also observe you? In quantum experiments, the role of the observer is crucial. But if dreams function as portals, perhaps observation is not one-directional. There are reports of experiences where people not only saw another life, but also felt the parallel you looking back, even sending a message. That is why some dreams leave the impression of a meeting rather than just a journey. A woman once shared that she dreamed of living in an unfamiliar city with a different husband. But the strangest part was not the setting. It was that when she looked into her husband's eyes, she heard a whisper. "Remember, we are one." When she woke, she shivered. She could not explain it with ordinary psychology, but felt as if she had truly received a message from a parallel self. If so, parallel dreams are not only reflections, but points of contact. Your consciousness and your parallel. You may meet in that fleeting moment, and this opens a great philosophical question. If dreams allow us to touch our parallel selves, then which is the real me? Am I here or am I there? Or am I all of them at once? It is precisely this question that gives parallel dreams their powerful allure. They awaken the intuition that I am never confined to a single straight line. I am multidimensional. I am the network of possibilities, and dreams are merely the crack that lets me glimpse that truth. So the next time you dream of a life that is not your own, remember, it is not coincidence. It may be the moment your consciousness slipped through a quantum crack, touching a parallel timeline. And perhaps, in that very place, a parallel you is also dreaming of you. Dreams of an unfamiliar life do not appear only in the modern world. When we speak of the multiverse or the parallel self. In fact, thousands of years ago, people in many cultures already believed that parallel versions of themselves existed, and that dreams were the place where we could touch them. This shows that what we now call parallel reality is not a new idea, but a collective archetype preserved in human memory. In Norse mythology, there is the concept of the doppelganger, the double, the twin shadow. People believed that every individual had another self existing in parallel. To encounter your double was considered a fated sign, sometimes even a warning of imminent change. This image is no different from dreaming of a life that is not yours. You have just glimpsed the doppelganger in another timeline. In the East, both Buddhism and Taoism tell stories of the 1,000 parallel lifetimes. The sages taught that the soul does not live linearly, but passes through countless branches of life simultaneously. A strange dream, where you see yourself in a different family, living another life, can be seen as a fleeting memory of a parallel lifetime unfolding at that very moment. In South American shamanic tradition, people often speak of reincarnation dreams, where the dreamer inhabits the body of another person in another world. When they return, they bring back knowledge, emotions, and even skills they had never learned before. For shamans, this is no illusion. It is a true journey, where consciousness temporarily leaves the familiar timeline to step into a parallel portal. Ancient Egyptian culture also preserved this idea. In the Book of the Dead, the soul is described as having multiple ba, aspects of being, that can exist simultaneously. During sleep, part of the soul separates, travels through different realms, and then returns to the body in the morning. This almost directly reflects the modern notion of the parallel you, that we are not singular, and that dreams are the moment when these aspects intersect. In Greek philosophy, Plato introduced the image of the world of ideas, where all possibilities exist as parallel realities. When people dream, the soul could temporarily leave the visible world to touch those living ideas. This was the Greek explanation for why, in dreams, we can find ourselves living lives that do not exist in the material world. This leads to a deeper realization. Dreaming of another life is not just a personal phenomenon. It is a universal experience, carved into the collective psyche. Whether in Asia, Europe, Africa, or the Americas, people have stories of parallel selves and dreams that lead to other worlds. And it is precisely this repetition that makes us ask, could this be more than myth? Could it be a hidden truth that humanity has long intuited? A modern example can be found in studies of lucid dreaming. Many people report that in lucid states, they can choose to open one door or another, step into a strange house, and live an entire life there. Upon waking, they realize that parallel dreams are no different from the ancient archetype of the portal in myth. Only today, we describe them using the language of science. What makes this symbol powerful is its repetition. An archetype exists when it transcends the boundaries of individual, culture, and era. Water was once a collective portal. Death was once a collective portal. And now, the parallel dream carries the same weight. It is tied to humanity's deepest longing, to know whether we have more than one life, whether we are larger than our present self. Therefore, when you dream of living a life not your own, you are not alone. You are reconnecting with thousands of years of human memory, with the collective archetype of the parallel. And that dream does not belong only to you, it belongs to all of humanity. The only question left is, will you see it as myth? Or will you see it as the portal you have just stepped through? In parallel dreams, there is one phenomenon that chills people more than anything else. The feeling that you are not only observing, but also being observed in return. You step into a strange dream, finding yourself living the life of someone else. At first, you think you are only a stranger, secretly peering into a world that does not belong to you. But then, the moment you meet the gaze of a character in the dream, perhaps a parallel partner, an unfamiliar relative, or even your own parallel you realize they are looking straight at you. It is no longer a performance for you to watch. It becomes an encounter. And it is precisely in that moment that the observer loop appears. In quantum physics, the double-slit experiment shows that the mere act of observation changes a particle's state. But few ask the reverse question. If a particle senses being observed, could it also be observing us? Parallel dreams bring this hypothesis into direct experience. When you observe another timeline, the self in that timeline may perceive your presence, and that look has the power to shatter everything you thought you knew about reality. A man once recounted that he often dreamed of living in a strange city. Everything was ordinary until one night, when he looked into a mirror in the dream. Instead of merely seeing his parallel face, he saw the eyes move independently, as if aware of being observed. He was stunned, because in that fleeting moment, he felt the person in the mirror knew he was dreaming. From then on, he never looked at his dreams the same way. Another woman told of dreaming she was speaking with a parallel husband. But in the middle of their conversation, he suddenly tilted his head, looked directly at her and said, "I know you don't belong here." She woke in shock, not just because of the words, but because of how real it felt, as if the parallel self had detected her intrusion. These stories are not only fascinating, but also carry an urgent reminder. If you have been seen, it means the portal is open. But portals do not wait. They are like a narrow doorway, briefly ajar so that two selves can glimpse each other. If you do not listen, that chance may close forever. This is where FOMO, fear of missing out, becomes most powerful. Because what you miss is not an external opportunity, it is a meeting with yourself in another timeline. Some have reported that after experiencing a dream of being looked back at, they never had such a dream again. The portal closed, and that sense of regret haunted them for years. This leads to a deeper realization. Parallel dreams are not merely mind games. They are communication. and every communication requires a response. If you only watch without replying, you are missing the chance to establish a connection with a part of your own being. Ask yourself, have you ever dreamed of someone looking at you too deeply, too directly, leaving you to wake with the feeling of being seen through? If so, it is very possible that it was not just a random character. It was your parallel you observing you in return. And when that happens, do not dismiss it as mere strangeness. See it as a call, because every gaze that looks back in a dream carries a message. We are not separate. We are intersecting, and the portal opens only for a moment. So the next time you dream of not only observing, but being observed in return, remember, it is a rare opportunity for the parallel and the present to meet. And you must choose, will you listen, or will you turn away and miss the most important encounter of your life? Dreams of a life that does not belong to you may sound like fiction, but in reality, many people have experienced them. And when these fragments are pieced together, we begin to see a clearer picture. Parallel dreams are not random, but signs of timeline intersections. A middle-aged man in Canada once shared that he dreamed of being a musician living in Paris. In the dream, he spoke fluent French, played piano at a small bar, and lived a simple yet fulfilling life. When he woke up, he felt a stabbing pain, as if a part of his body had been torn away. He had never studied French, never set foot in Paris, yet the memory was as vivid as real life. He believed he had just glimpsed a parallel you, a life he had chosen in another timeline. A young woman shared that she dreamed of being married with 3 children. In the dream, she remembered every detail: their names, their faces, their habits. The feeling of love was so powerful that when she woke, she cried upon seeing her empty apartment. She said, "I felt like I had just left behind my real family to return to this life." If it were mere imagination, why would the emotions feel so real? A student in Japan recounted that he often dreamed of working in a hospital. He was not studying medicine, yet in the dream, he performed surgeries, made diagnoses, and interacted with colleagues. After many such dreams, he began to realize that the medical knowledge within them was strangely accurate. This led him to wonder, could it be that another me is truly a doctor? And somehow I am receiving memories from that life? There are also stories with more spiritual tones. A woman shared that she dreamed of living in a city that did not exist on any map. The streets, the buildings, even the subway system were so detailed that when she woke, she tried to draw them. Months later, on a trip abroad, she passed through a place identical to her dream. The sense of familiarity gave her chills. I have lived here, but not in this life. These stories share a common thread. The memories in the dreams are too detailed, too consistent, far beyond ordinary imagination. They are often accompanied by strong emotions, love, grief, longing, just like those we experience in waking life. That is because, according to many hypotheses, you are truly connecting with another timeline, and those memories are not inventions, but recollections. And here is what matters. Parallel dreams often arrive at turning points. The man in Canada dreamed of being a musician at the very moment he was weary of his office job. The woman dreamed of a family with 3 children while she was struggling with whether to start one. The student dreamed of being a doctor while questioning his career path. Perhaps it was the parallel you sending a signal, like a reminder, there are many paths. Look, this is how I am living. Of course, not everyone listens. Some choose to dismiss them, thinking of them as nothing more than strange dreams. But others pause, reflect, and allow them to influence their decisions. Some even change the course of their lives entirely after experiencing a parallel dream. This leads to a profound thought. Perhaps parallel dreams are how timelines speak to each other. The self in this life and the self in another are not completely separate. They remain connected through the quantum field, and dreams are the point of contact where memories are shared. So the next time you dream of a life that is not yours, do not dismiss it too quickly. Remember, it may be you in another place, another timeline, sending you a fragment of memory, and you must choose. Will you see it as illusion, or will you see it as a message? Parallel dreams do not come merely to amaze you. They often carry a silent challenge. What will you do with the unfamiliar life you have just seen? When you wake from a dream so vivid that you remember every face, every street, every feeling, two possibilities arise. One, you dismiss it, telling yourself, it was only a dream. Two, you pause, listen, and allow that dream to raise questions about your current life. This is the challenge of choice that every parallel dream brings. A woman recounted that she dreamed of living in a strange city, doing work she had never considered. When she woke, she carried both excitement and emptiness. It was a life she had never lived, but wanted to. At first, she thought it was just a game of the subconscious. But then, the dream repeated itself many times, as if reminding her. Finally, she decided to change her career path, and unexpectedly, new opportunities opened, closely resembling what she had seen in the dream. She chose to listen, and the timeline shifted. In contrast, a businessman once shared that he often dreamed of having another family, another wife, other children. But out of fear that it was only illusion, he dismissed it. Years later, when his marriage collapsed, he realized the dream had not been temptation, but a warning. There was another possibility if you had dared to choose. He did not choose, and the portal closed. This is the urgent point. Parallel dreams do not appear forever. They usually come when you stand at the threshold of change, when you are wavering, or when your consciousness is ready to see another possibility. But if you ignore them, the portal will vanish, and the opportunity will be gone. In quantum philosophy, there is an interesting concept: the collapse of the wave function. When you make a choice, the superposition collapses, and only one result is retained. Parallel dreams may be the very moment before that collapse happens. They show you multiple possibilities at once, then force you to choose. Will you continue on your current branch or turn into a new timeline? What makes this challenge difficult is that the dream does not provide a detailed map. It only gives you a glimpse. It shows you a house, a partner, a job, then leaves you to wake with the question, do I want to move toward that life? This ambiguity makes many people hesitate. But sometimes hesitation itself is the answer. You choose to stay where you are, and the portal closes. A student once shared that he dreamed of being an explorer, traveling through many countries, meeting fascinating people. But in waking life, he was studying the field his parents had chosen for him. He woke with an irresistible longing, and instead of brushing it aside, he decided to change his major, choosing the adventurous path. The parallel dream became the compass for his decision. The scariest thing is not having a parallel dream. It is having a parallel dream and not daring to choose. Because once the portal closes, you cannot go back to the starting point. You will forever carry in your heart the question, what would have happened if I had listened? Therefore, the true challenge does not lie within the dream, but in how you respond after waking. Do you dare to see it as a signal? Do you dare to change? Or will you bury it as a secret never to be spoken of? Ask yourself, I once dreamed of another life. Did I ignore it? And if the portal opens again, will I have the courage to step through? When you dream of a life that does not belong to you, the first thing you may feel is strangeness. You think, that is not me. That is someone else, living an entirely different life. But the deeper truth is this: parallel you is not a stranger. It is still you, only in another timeline. Imagine yourself as a multifaceted crystal. In your present life, you only see one shining face, the face you meet in the mirror every day. But parallel dreams reveal other faces of that crystal. Still you, yet illuminated from different angles. You do not lose your unity. You only realize that your being is far greater. A woman once shared that she dreamed of being an artist living in Italy. In the dream, she had a studio, walls covered with paintings, and friends who were artists. Upon waking, she was astonished, because in waking life, she was an accountant. At first, she thought it was merely a subconscious wish. But gradually, she realized perhaps a part of her truly was living as an artist in another timeline. That dream was not temptation, but a reminder that the artist's energy still lived within her, and she could bring it into her present life. Here is the crucial point. Parallel you does not only exist elsewhere. It is a part of you that you can connect with, learn from, and even integrate. When you dream of another life, it does not mean you must abandon your current one to chase it. Instead, the dream is like a letter. Remember, this part of you exists too. From a psychological perspective, Carl Jung called this the integration of the shadow, the process of recognizing the unexpressed parts of the self. But from a quantum perspective, you might see it as timeline interference. You have just glimpsed another branch of yourself, and the information from that branch can supplement and enrich the present. This opens to a profound truth. You are not limited to a single identity. You are not only the profession you practice, not only the choices you have made. You are the totality of countless possibilities, and parallel you is living proof. A man once experienced this. He dreamed of being a warrior in ancient times. The dream lasted many nights, detailed enough that he felt he remembered every scar, every battle. He did not consider it reincarnation, but parallel memory. What mattered was that after these dreams, he carried back a new inner strength, a courage he had never had in waking life. Parallel, you had given him a quality he needed to overcome his current struggles. And this is the deeper meaning. Parallel dreams do not come to confuse you, but to expand your identity, to grant you the missing pieces you need. Parallel, you may be an artist, a warrior, a lover, or a scholar, but all are you. And once you realize this, you no longer need to choose a single life. You can carry the energies of those parallel lives into the present, weaving them into who you are now. Perhaps this is why parallel dreams often leave such powerful emotions. Because they touch a truth you have always sensed, but never named, that you are multidimensional. You do not have just one me, but countless me's, all coexisting within the vast quantum field. So the next time you dream of a life that is not yours, stop calling it foreign. Call it parallel you, a part of yourself that is living, breathing, and experiencing in another timeline. And most importantly, listen. Because perhaps that self is sending you the very missing piece you need to complete your present life. By this point, you have seen that parallel dreams are not merely reflections. They are a portal, a memory, a message from another aspect of yourself. But there is a deeper layer. The ultimate purpose is not merely for you to see the parallel you, but for you to unify them. Imagine each life you see in dreams as a river. Some are gentle, some are torrential, some are deep and dark. They flow in parallel, seeming never to meet. But somewhere far away, they all empty into a single ocean. Parallel dreams are the way consciousness reminds you that you are not the separate rivers. You are the ocean that holds them all. Someone once shared that she often dreamed of living different lives, sometimes as an artist, sometimes as a mother, sometimes as a traveler. At first she felt confused. Who am I really among them? But gradually she realized each dream gave her a piece. When she integrated them, she felt more complete, creative, full of feeling, and hungry for freedom. She did not have to choose one. She was all of them. In quantum physics, there is a concept called coherence, synchronization. When many quantum states that were disparate become coherent, they create a more stable, more powerful reality. Similarly, when you recognize and unify the parallel you are no longer fragmented between me here and me there. You become a consistent being, carrying within you the wisdom and experience of many timelines. This also explains why there are dreams that come not to test or to warn, but to bring deep serenity. You see yourself dissolving into an ocean, floating in the sky, or merging into light. That is not death. It is the rite of unification, where all parallel selves return to become one. A man once dreamed of meeting three versions of himself: a warrior, a scholar, and a father. At first he was bewildered, but then the three approached, placed their hands on his shoulders, and spoke the same sentence: "We are one." He woke with tears on his face, carrying the feeling that he had just reclaimed lost parts. From then on, he lived with a new confidence, as though the strength of three lives had converged within him. Unifying timelines does not mean you abandon this life to follow another. It means you absorb energy from the parallel lives to enrich the present. If your parallel you is an artist, you can bring that creativity into today's work. If your parallel you is a warrior, you can bring that courage into difficult decisions. If your parallel you is a lover, you can bring that heart to heal your relationships. Thus, parallel dreams do not pull you away from reality. On the contrary, they show you that this reality can be deeper if you dare to reclaim the aspects of your being you have left behind. It is like picking up the shards of a broken mirror to assemble a complete one, the mirror that reflects your whole self. And here is the final meaning. You do not live only one life. You are the unification of many lives. Each parallel dream does not come to pull you away, but to bring you closer to yourself. Therefore, the next time you dream of a life that is not yours, do not ask, "Is that me?" Ask, "What can I bring from that version into my present life to become more complete?" Because when you do so, you are not only observing parallel timelines, you are unifying them. If you have ever dreamed of a life that was not your own, remember this: it has never been just a dream. It is a portal, revealing to you a parallel timeline. And in that moment, you are not merely observing. You are touching a parallel you, another part of yourself, living, breathing, and experiencing in a different dimension of reality. Those dreams do not come to confuse you. They come to remind you that you are far greater than the single story you are living. You are not only one life, one choice, one identity. You are the intersection of many timelines, and sometimes dreams are how they call you back. The important question is, what will you do with that message? Will you dismiss it as mere illusion, or will you listen? Will you ignore it, or will you let it awaken within you the greater question? Who am I if I can live more than one life? Remember, When you dream of an unfamiliar life, you are not looking at someone else. You are looking at yourself from another direction. And if you dare to listen, you may bring back the missing pieces to make your present life more complete. So the next time you wake from a parallel dream, do not simply forget it. See it as a meeting, because perhaps in that very moment, your parallel you is reaching out, inviting you to remember the truth. You are multidimensional, and you have never lived just one life.